Cloud 66 has many team management features. Let's take a look. Let's head to my account and then collaboration teams. These are the teams that I'm a member of. I can switch which team I can see here, or I can leave any teams that I'm a member of. Next, members. These are the members of my team, and I can invite new members to my team. There are 3 types of team members that I can invite. Application users, any real human being. Financial user, which is also a normal human being, but only a billing user, where they get the bills and the financial information of the account, but not the technical one. And a service account, where it's not a real person, but has all the information and access to the APIs and restrictions applied to a real human being. This is used and very useful when you want to use it with an API or a command line tool, and you don't want anything to be bound to a specific user. So if they leave your team, for example, your API gets disabled all of a sudden. If I start with an application user, I can enter the email address, and there is a bunch of permissions that I can grant or deny to each one of my users. More than that, as my account, a Cloud 66 account, is connected to a group of cloud accounts or cloud providers, I can restrict access to any cloud provider for that user. For example, I can restrict access for this particular user to all of my AWS accounts or a specific AWS account, which means only this user can only deploy or build or scale new servers and new applications on this particular cloud provider. The next thing I can change is about the application access. So you can assign which role, and we get to the roles later, which role you want any application that this user creates or gets created within the account will have access to. For example, this is like a forward-looking permission. If there is no application on the account and I grant a default access role of administrator to this account, to this user, then any future applications that are deployed by any one of the team members will be granted to this particular user with an administrator role. For existing applications, I have 2 applications right now. As of right now, under this account, I can again assign the specific role that I want to this user. Once I'm done with creating an account, we can move on to the roles and permissions. We've defined a few roles, and you can create new ones. They're just a name. And then on the second tab, you can choose that role and assign different permissions from a wide set of permissions to each one of those roles. And that means every time a user is allocated or assigned an administrator role for an application or for a future stack, they will benefit or enjoy these selected permissions. Next is groups. So you can group your users into specific group of users. I can create a group with a description, select the group members that I want. And also another thing I can do is I can allocate or assign an expiry for the tokens. This is very useful when you're using things like a command line toolbelt or API access. When a command line toolbelt is used against Cloud 66 API, a token is generated for it, and that token can get expired. So you can say anybody within this group will have their token expire in a day, which is 86,400 seconds after the token is created. And this way you can ensure this group needs to log in again after 1 day. So these are the access permissions that you can have for different groups, team members, and roles and permissions you can allocate and assign to any of your stack applications within your account. Now, one last thing is about security. When you get into security, you can force two-factor authentication for your team. This means any member of your team needs to have two-factor authentication set up, whether by an app or a hardware YubiKey like security key, or the fingerprint if their computer supports it. You can enforce that on their account. And what happens if they don't have the same level of security on their own account, they will not be able to switch their account on this menu without first enabling the 2FA required level that you impose on your own users. So even if they are a member of your account, they will need to set up the security permissions up to the level that you require for your team members before they can switch to your team. These are just a few of the team and security features of Cloud 66, and I think they're very useful when you're dealing with production stacks.